Welcome back to another episode of the Bird Flock. We got another guest here with us today, the newly extended punter of the Montreal Alouettes, Joseph Zema. Joseph, first of all, thanks for taking the time and hopping on with us here today.
No worries. Glad to be here. It's always good to get out and talk to somebody about the football.
Yeah, and we want to start it here quickly. Obviously, you're out there from Australia, and we want to kind of get to know more about that and more about where you grew up and stuff like that.
Yeah. I grew up in Australia, down in Melbourne, pretty big city. So I played Australian football. It's not rugby, it's not soccer. It's its own sport. So if anyone wants to YouTube it, they can. It's Australian rules football. So I grew up playing that, just like anybody else when I was little, and got to about probably 22 years old. The draft age back home is 18, so I tried to make the highest ranks that I could, but just wasn't good enough. So I started the passion for sports and stuff, and then I found out about Pro Kick Australia. So they're like a kicking academy, and they turn Australian rules footballers and even some soccer players and rugby players into punters and some kickers as well. So you learn about mainly about the college game down in the States. Learn all the rules, make sure you know what you're doing, and then they train you up and make sure you can go over there and perform, which is why you're seeing a lot of guys play college football. So, yeah, I trained there at the start of 2017, came down to San Antonio where I live now with my wife and my 6-month-old son now. So it's been a life-changing experience. I've been kicking a football since, I could walk. So it's a pretty easy skill to transition into punting.
Yeah, you just touched on it kind of being a different game out there. Can you just like quickly go over some of the differences and the similarities that the game has?
Yeah, it's really hard to compare. It's got a bit of soccer, a bit of football. It's a big oval field. It's probably 150 or 60 yards long, and almost just as wide. It's an oval shape, and it's got 4 posts at each end, 6 points to kick the ball through the middle. You get 1 point for missing either side. And we run around with no pads or helmets on. It's a 360-degree sport, so kind of like soccer. And yeah, you kick the ball predominantly, or handball. It does lots of tackling and bumping and physical contact. So, it's a really fun sport. I still follow my team. I get up at all hours of the night to watch them because of the time difference. So I still love it, and I still keep up with it all.
Yeah, so and you just did say that a lot of guys, a lot of Australians do come over to like North America. How did they find you, and really how did that process you coming over?
Yeah, so the Pro Kick Academy, Nathan Chapman and John Smith, they do a lot of they've done a lot of networking and really established themselves as, if you want an Australian punter, you go to those guys. And I was there in 2017, and they've been doing it since maybe 2013, so maybe 10 years now or so. When I was there was maybe 20 guys, training, and now they've got 40 guys in Melbourne, 20 guys in Adelaide, Perth, all over the place now. So they've just built such a good reputation and a great network that, if a college coach needs, a punter 1 year or for 4 years, they know where to go, and then they kind of hand pick who's training, who's ready to go, who would fit which school, what the coaches are looking for, whether they want someone that can spiral from the pocket or roll out and kick some Aussie stuff. So it's really kind of like a shop. You just go in and pick what you want and send them over.
How tough was that, like you adapting to moving to North America and leaving your family and stuff like that?
It was good. I mean, it was an experience. Like I said, that kind of stage of my life, I was deciding either I just finished my degree, so I was either just going to get a job, and just continue on with my profession. I did an exercise sports science degree, and I thought, you know what, I still got the passion for sports and playing football, so I want to try it out. So, I went to Pro Kick for 6 months, only because I had 1 year of eligibility left, actually. So I had to get in there quick, learn how to do it, and I got over there and got to San Antonio, and I was just 20. I think I just turned 23 when I got over there, so it was pretty life changing, and it was crazy. It was a crazy experience. I hadn't been to the United States before, and so my first time I landed, and about a month later, because I got there so late, I was playing in Fresno State playing my first college football season. So it was pretty crazy. I landed in August and I was done my first and last college season by November, and I did some an NFL like a kicking combine, NFLPA bowl game, had a couple mini camps the year after. So within 9 months, I'd gone from just landing in the States to a couple NFL camps, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, can you take us through those NFL camps? Like, what was it like for you there? Especially, like you said, you had only been there really for a year, I guess.
Yeah, it was just a whirlwind at that point, and I still probably, knowing what I know now and being here 5 or 6 years later, I still couldn't like grasp the concept of everything. I knew how to punt and I knew how to hold for field goal, and that was about it. I know all the rules for the sports, but I just hadn't had any experience or any time in the game. So those NFL camps were probably a good motivator and a fact to, all right, this is what I can get to, and this is something that I'm really looking forward to. So it was really crazy. And I went to Tampa Bay and the New York Jets, and then I had a tryout at Jacksonville a couple months later. And then a year after that, in 2019, I signed with the San Antonio Commanders in the Alliance of American Football League, which is obviously defunct now. But it's still pretty crazy. I still can't believe it. You have to pinch yourself sometimes to see where you've come from, and be thankful and grateful for all of it.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely worked out for you. And the AAF, like you just said, I mean, it's not around anymore, and it folded kind of before it even got started. But like, what was that for you, like as a player in that league, and it just folds halfway through the year?
It was crazy, and from a player's point of view, you didn't really see any of it happen. You hear rumors in the news and that, but from my perspective, going into the facility and going to meetings and playing games and all that, it seemed pretty regular, and nothing out of the ordinary was going to happen. And it happened during a practice. Actually, we played 8 games, I think, and it was a Wednesday in the middle of practice. They had to call everybody in and say, you can't stop practicing because if you get injured, we can't pay for your insurance anymore. And I went to the locker room that day expecting to practice and play that week. I walked out with a bag of all my stuff, and I haven't been back to the locker room since. So that was a crazy experience. So it's pretty crazy. And the XFL and the USFL going now as well. So I hope, just for everybody's sake and opportunity's sake, that they can keep going. And it's always good to watch some football in the spring too.
Mm-hmm. And then you obviously ended up coming through the CFL to the Alouettes through the global draft.
Yeah.
What was that process like for you to have to go through and declare for a draft like that?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. I'd always heard of the CFL, even as I got here, and it was obviously off the back of a COVID year, so it was meant to happen in 2020, and they delayed the combine, and then I think they delayed it maybe twice, and then it got canceled, obviously. So in that sense, it was kind of waiting around for a year and just making sure I was ready to go. And then finally, 2021 rolls around, they delayed the season, but the draft was really cool. I got to Zoom meeting a lot of coaches and scouts in the CFL, and it was like learning a little bit, learning a new game with all the new rules, 3 downs, different rules on punt specifically with no fair catch, wider field as well. So different balls. So it was all a good experience. And it was, I was really lucky enough to go in the first round, and even luckier to go to the Alouettes. I've fallen in love with the city now. I think I got really lucky. One of the best cities in the CFL. I think me and my wife love it up there, and we've got our favorite coffee spots and restaurants in the Port area we love. So it's just been awesome and a life-changing experience, and I can't wait for the next couple of years now as well.
Mm. And speaking of those next couple of years, like I said before, you signed that extension. How important was it for you to sign it like this year and not have to play out the remainder of your contract and sign next year?
Yeah, it was. It's something I hadn't thought about too much. Is really the first time that I'd been, under a contract and then it kind of coming to an expiry in a sense. But I was just more happy that I could sign back with the Alouettes as well. And I'm not sure, but the global salaries are a little less than the minimum in the CFL. But the CBA changed that anyway this year, so it was just good to stay with the Owls. And like I said, I love that. Love the place, love the players and the coaches. And it's a really good environment, and it's a really exciting year this year. So it was a no-brainer in the end.
And speaking of the CFL, a lot of faces change very often in free agency and stuff like that because it's a lot of 1-year contracts, and you're gonna have a new teammate in Bulasa, a new long snapper. Have you had a chance to talk to him? I know I talked to Cote a couple days ago, and he said he hadn't had a chance to talk to him yet.
No, yeah, it's the off season's kind of weird. You kind of not necessarily wait for training camp, but I might message him in the next couple of weeks. We haven't spoken yet, but there's not a lot you can really do until you get there and start snapping and catching and getting used to each other. It'll take a little adjustment just to pick up his just the way he gets down and in his stance, and more the field goal snapping and getting laces right for Dave too. But I'm looking forward to it. He's been in the CFL for a while, so I'm always looking to learn off the more experienced guys, and making a really good field goal unit and punt team out of it.
Yeah, you just touched on my next question. And how long do you really see that adjustment period for his snapping for you guys to get that? Because I'm sure over your life you've had so many snappers that you've worked with, so you normally know the amount of time that it should take.
Yeah, I mean, like PL last 2 years, he's a lefty, so the ball spins the other way. And LP's I'm pretty sure he's a right-handed. So look, it shouldn't take more than a week or so to get it really good to start with, and then a couple of weeks after that to really perfect it. So and what's handy is we're on the sidelines all the time as opposed to having a quarterback on field goal, so we'll be able to just get reps and reps and reps. And while we're not punting or doing field goal, we'll just be out there catching as many snaps as we can and just getting used to timing and stuff. So it's usually an adjustment period, but it doesn't take that long. It'll be well and truly done by the first preseason game for sure.
Mm-hmm. And like you kind of said before, the 3 downs thing instead of 4 downs. When you first came here, did you ever get caught off guard and forget that you had to be on the field on 3rd down if they needed you out there?
I haven't on 3rd down. It was funny it was the very first game back. When was it? It was against Edmonton in 2021. So my first game back after a long time, and I almost forgot about the extra point on field goal because I hadn't played since the Alliance in 2019 COVID year, and then 2021 it was delayed. So I haven't forgotten about a punt yet, but I will say I nearly forgot the extra point. I'm pretty sure it was a touchdown. We had a punt return touchdown, so I was celebrating with all the guys. I was like, "Oh, shoot, I got to be out there." So hopefully that won't happen again.
And now I want to move off to the off field here. And like I just said, I had David Cote on a couple days ago, and I talked to him. He said that not even just on the field, but off the field, you guys spend a lot of time together, whether it's golfing or watching other games and stuff like that. So you being from Australia and then going to the States, moving to Montreal is a foreign place for you, obviously, but how much has he helped you, especially a guy from Quebec, has he helped you off the field and making you feel comfortable?
Yeah, it's been good. It's we kind of laugh because of all of our accents and stuff. Sorry. Different accents and stuff. So he's helped me a lot just getting around and honestly reading some documents that are in French and being my translator a bit. But it's good fun. Yeah, he's helped me a lot, like different coffee shops, and maybe the first year, choosing where to live, steering me in the right direction. So we get along really well off the field. Obviously, we spend a lot of time together in the locker room, and we're out on the field, so we've become really good friends. So it's that's another reason, honestly, why you re-sign. I know that he re-signed as well. So it was just that continuity and people and you become really good friends with everybody. So it's been really good so far.
Yeah, and speaking of you having to find a place to live and everything, the first year that you came here, what was that process like? Like, had you come down here to look at houses, or was it just one of those, we're going to have to look at pictures and hope for the best?
Honestly, yeah, it was. I mean, it was the first year back, so I didn't, pull the trigger on anything too quickly. I just still wanted to make the team, get through training camp and make sure I was on the roster. And the team has a place in the city where a lot of guys get housed. So I stayed there for a little while, and I was able to get an Airbnb for the last couple of months, obviously with a shorter season. So, and then I subleased from somebody else last year. It was actually Vets in BC. So, you know, we have a little network of guys around the league. So, and he's been fortunate enough as well to lend me his place. So, you know, we all kind of connect and, yeah, it's a good place. It's probably not too far from where we train and practice. So it's a good joint.
Yeah, and I know now that you're out there in Texas and living there in the off season, so you have the access to a field and everything where it's not covered in snow. So can you kind of take us through a typical off season,
Yeah.
training plan for what a punter would do?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, down here in Texas, it gets hot pretty quick. We've already had days above 30 degrees, that's Celsius. But yeah, I asked Dave what he's doing, and it's all snowy, and he can't kick for a little while. He kicks it in indoor field, which is good. But yeah, I usually take at least a month off or 6 weeks after the season just to give the body a rest. It's a long season, and you know, especially once the colder months come around, it takes a toll on the body. So I make sure I give myself a good break physically and mentally as well. And then right now I'm gymming probably 3 times a week. I'm going to cut it back a little just to, you know, get rested for training camp, and then kicking and punting 3 times a week as well. So, and again, I'm probably going to take a little rest, and then the week leading into training camp, punt a bit more. So, yeah, usually just make sure that, you know, mobile, obviously the big one is, you know, not getting injured or, you know, any mishaps or anything. Make sure I'm improving on the punting all the time, and, you know, new tricks up the sleeve and all that kind of stuff. So usually pretty chill. It's there's times in the off season where you need to relax, and then times where you need to up the ante. And, you know, we've got a good training staff and strength team, so they give us programs to follow. So we're all prepared ready to go come training camp.
Yeah, and how long would you say your normal training practice is in the off season?
I usually punt for, I'm probably out in the field for an hour and a half. You know, start from the start of stretch to the last ball being kicked. So I usually kick probably I have 8 balls in a set, and I probably go up and back 7 or 8 times or 10 times or so. So somewhere around that, you know, 80 to 100 ball mark. But again, you don't want to overkick, because you get tired, you can get injured, and you can start getting lazy, and, you know, your technique can vary when you know, legs tired. You do some different things. You don't want to pick up bad habits. So it's very much kind of a balancing act between, you know, wanting to get the reps in, but also just making sure that your body's all good.
Yeah, and I just got one last question for you, and I don't know if you've seen any of our episodes, but we always end with one question that has really nothing to do about football, just because we know that you guys are probably so tired of answering football questions throughout your career. So my last question for you here is, when you came to Montreal, how long did it take you to try poutine, and what is your honest review of it?
I love it. I think the first place I went to was Schwartz. Schwartz is on in Montreal, but that was in training camp. I think it was one of the first things I did. And I've probably tried a couple of different places since then. It's definitely not something I can have all the time. Maybe after a good win or something like that. But probably, I mean, I might have had it 2 or 3 times last year. I love it. I personally like it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a fan favorite around Montreal and Quebec, and starting to grow everywhere else too. So
it's something you have to like my wife's parents, my in-laws are coming up to watch for the first game, and I'm going to take them to get some poutine.
Well. There you go.
Yeah.
All right, man. Joseph, I just wanted to thank you again for hopping on with us. You know, I know you got you've been telling us a busy training, and we're gonna let you get back to that. And it's excited to watch you again this season. Excited to get the season started and see the boys out there.
Yeah, saying no, it's going to be really exciting. You know, the crowd's always great. It's a nice, loud stadium, so I'm really looking forward to the year, and, you know, another playoff run as well. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man.